Michelle, can you please tell us what are some of the changing roles the CFOs in Asia are facing post the crisis?
I think the main change of the role of CFO is basically people realize how important it is to set up systematic risk management after the crisis, in that maybe the CFOs were also being requested or demanded to participate more in the business deals in managing the daily business risk. In this perspective, I would say the role of being a business partner has been strengthened on this part. And on the other side, of course, everybody realized how important it is to maintain liquidity of the company, because most of the company failed without the right liquidity in place. In this perspective, I think the CFO's role has been also strengthened, or at least being recognized as very important for them to participate in the daily business, to understand what's going on in order to secure the company's liquidity and prevent the things happening like what we have seen in the financial crisis.
And you're a speaker at CFO Asia, you will be a speaker at CFO China. What do you think CFOs in China will learn from a conference such as this?
As a CFO in China, I think because we more or less are very much facing a very, very dynamic environment every day. In this way, we are dealing every day with a lot of operational challenges. Therefore, I think it's interesting to come back to a region, relatively speaking, I would call Singapore, for example, or Hong Kong, those kind of regional hubs, having already established economic environment. Therefore, people also have more chance or exposure to think more systematically without being bothered by all the operational challenges every day they were facing. So from me, my perspective, it's just interesting to see, also to compensate myself from a different angle and see what the colleagues here were dealing with every day.
And what impact will China have on regional growth going forward?
Yeah, I think every day, what role China will play to the world economy is clear, because everybody knows somehow from the last few years China is going to be the driver of the whole world economy, at least one of very important economy in the world. We see, for example, from chemical industry perspective already, then after the crisis, the whole market or sales turnover of coming out of China is already accounting for almost 15% of the group revenue, which actually changed from the last few years gradually to a very big ratio. And in the whole chemical industry, you can see that China is almost one of the biggest chemical consumer in the world. So from our industry perspective, China is going to be the key driver, not only from market perspective, but also going to be on the making the market, because you also see increasing technology innovation here in China. We see also a lot of competitors coming from local. In this way, this is going to be a very exciting field, and therefore I think it will drive the world on both ends. One is driving the consumption, and secondly also driving the trend of setting the market.
With regards to risk management, how can we create value in a volatile economy?
In a volatile economy, as I mentioned also in one of the sessions during our panelist session, I think it's very important for us to recognize, not really collecting the information we have on what risk would be, because every company is doing this one, but rather being a CFO in this role, you have to make certain judgments on knowing what are the important things to be filtered out of the risk factors. Also, it's very important for you to create organization culture to deal with the changes as fast as possible, because whatever happens in the future you will never know, but it's important for you to have the ability to just deal with whatever stress coming to you. So I think this is more called ability or genes, instead of knowing what would be the risk behind. So creating value means you have the ability to always overcome the changes. Means volatility is not a big thing for you. It's not really difficult, but it's more a chance. How to turn the risk into a chance is what actually the most important task for a company to do, and also for the CFO to create value in this perspective.
And what is your 2011 economic outlook for the regional industry, given the volatility outside Asia?
I think 2011 comparing to 2010 is going to be slowed down a little bit. That's my personal opinion. We all know that in 2009, although the world is turning into crisis, but Asia was doing quite well, especially led by China. 2010 was also an extremely good year. In our industry, we also see this trend actually starting from second quarter. The consumption is really strong, and coming to the third quarter is still strong. But we all expect that this trend will be a little bit slowing down, partially because also China realized it's very important to make a sustainable economic growth. By then doing that, they have to also make sure that the industrial sector is being structured in a more optimized way. You already see the policies is coming up from China to make sure that certain segments which was too hot being slowed down a little bit. So in this way, I would see it more positively, because without such kind of sustainable growth pattern, you will have a disaster in the future, even though you'll see a very high growth in the short-term run. So 2011, from my perspective, due to this change of China, could be slowing down a little bit. In that way, will give actually the world a little bit more stable pattern. However, we also see the risk coming from certain business like U.S., whether they will be able to overcome the current difficulties they have. So will be actually a lot of challenges we might see, but I do not expect that the things happened in 2009 will happen again, but still there are a lot of uncertainties ahead, but nobody knows.
What are some of the growth opportunities that throughout the region?
You talk about the growth opportunities in the region. What do you specifically mean?
For your particular
for our industry, I think for the region, the specific important factors, as just now I said we realized, or even the Western world realized, it is important to be in this market, which was actually not fully recognized before. As I mentioned, if you look at the market share of the China region, it's actually getting increasingly important, especially during the crisis. In the past, for example, we have the materials which are not even allocated to this region because the margin is too low. After the crisis, people realize it's important to have this being really recognized. This is key driver. Therefore, people will also invest more in this way. So I think from the regional perspective, it's a chance for us to expand our assets, to make sure that we will actually set up the right pace for the next wave of growth. And I think China and India both will play a very important role in setting up this kind of driving force.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thank you.